Well, good evening, everybody. I'm Johnny Henderson from Cryptid Studies Institute.
And I'm Elijah Henderson from the Cryptid Studies Institute.
We have something very special for you tonight. We're just doing it on the fly. We've been rushing around trying to get ready for it, and unfortunately I had to run out to the chicken coop and deal with the infamous Chicken Coop 3, the hated 3 chickens out there. My wife has these chickens, like 25 or maybe 30 of them, and they give me a hard time. The infamous Mrs. Beasley and Lagatha and DJ Donnie, and who's that other one?
Lilith.
It's Lilith. Lilith is the one that pooped on me tonight. So we've had a really hard time getting ready for this show, but I'm hoping that all the bad is out of the way because we have 2 stellar guests tonight that I am so excited. So that's 4 bad chickens, not Chicken Coop 3.
Well, you can't forget
the chicken quartet.
They're not chickens, but you got ducks that were pulling out your leg hair the other day.
Yes, cannibal monstrosities. But anyway, 2 stellar guests. You may have heard them last night on Paranormal Roundtable. A lot of you listened to that show, and we want to say again thank you to Josh Turner. He had us on a couple of weeks ago and treated us very fairly. We had listened to his show with Jody Cook, and we noticed that Josh spoke really well to of us, didn't have anything bad to say about us, and we was catching a lot of shade over the original Roger video. And so after the show, I reached out and wrote Josh and thanked him for treating us kind, and told him if he ever wanted to speak with me, basically in private, that he could call me and we'd talk. And he wrote or called back, I can't remember which, and he asked us if we'd be interested in being on his show, and we told him we would. We didn't really want to do a lot of radio shows. We've certainly not been shopping around trying to be on shows, but it seems like there's a lot of people have a lot of curiosity about Roger, and he seems to be a topic of conversation. A lot of people's tried to lure us on their shows, and with the idea of talking about something different, and then come to find out what they really want to talk about is Roger.
And as it turns out.
Yeah, and we don't mind. We just don't have a lot of time to dedicate to shows, and we'd appreciate people's honesty. If that's what they want to talk about, let us know up front. I don't like to sneak up on anybody, and I don't want them trying to sneak up on me either. And so,
in the case of Josh, he let us know that he'd done a show with Jody, and the people that watch him, they wanted to hear the other side of the story. They wanted to hear what we had to say on the subject, and they wanted to hear what Jody had to say on the subject.
So we agreed to do it, and Elijah had already committed us to one other show, so we've got that one. But we're not trying to do a lot of radio shows while my wife is sick. But having said that, we've got 2 guests, like I said. You may have heard them on Paranormal Roundtable last night, and there were some audio problems, and there was some bickering back and forth that kind of blocked out some stuff. And then there was some good conversation. Well, we want to continue that good conversation tonight because we have none other than the man himself, Roger. And would you like to introduce our other guest?
I would. We have arguably the granddaddy of the LBL stories in general, Mr. Barton Nunnelly, which we are very excited to be talking to him.
Fellas, welcome to the show.
Very excited to be talking to you both, actually.
Hey, thanks, Johnny and Elijah. It's a pleasure to be here. As well, thanks, guys.
Yes, you guys seemed to get along very amicably last night, and we just wanted to give you all a chance to really sit and talk in a relaxed environment where there's no pressure and no bickering, no arguing, no screaming, no cussing, no potty mouths or anything of that nature.
Just a good old-fashioned conversation.
Yeah, that's the best kind. Well, the main thing to me, it was great talking to you last night, Roger. And what I left from the show is feeling that I had not heard enough of Roger speak. I heard too much of everybody else talking, and Roger didn't really get a chance to elaborate much on some of the things that he was saying. So thanks for this opportunity to continue that conversation and maybe give Roger, more time to say his piece without interruption.
Yes, that'd be great. Yeah, you can ask me whatever you want.
Okay, so I know you're under a non-disclosure agreement, so I really don't. So I guess we have to talk like like everyone's already heard your first interview, which I'm sure a lot of them have, but what I was wanting to ask you last night, which I didn't get a chance to, was who drove you back to the crime scene? Was that the farmer, or was that the authority?
That was Walt and his partner.
And he was the military guy?
No, he was, like I said, I don't want to say they were FBI, but they were dressed like FBI. They were in suits.
So government.
Yeah, well, I guess. I don't want to say because I really don't know.
Right,
okay. Men in black or anything like that, but they were in suits. And the ones that weren't in suits had regular white, button-up shirts and wearing ties. So it was, if anybody else would see them, they'd probably say they were FBI. But they were carrying no identification saying that they were.
Right. So that's really strange there to me. Of course, you were a kid, and I guess they wouldn't have to identify themselves to you. I don't know for sure, but it seems strange that they offered no kind of credentials or anything. And what did they say to you when you first saw them? What did they say to you?
That was Walt, and he introduced himself, and he did introduce his partner, and I'm sure he gave his name, but I do not remember his name. And they asked me my name, and that was basically about it. They just asked my name, and they talked with the farmer a little bit longer, and then I was instructed to get in the car and go with them. Everything was pretty quiet on the ride back, back to the campground, and that's when they took me back, and the one gentleman that was just outside of the motorhome, I guess he was processing it, and he asked me a question, asked me what had happened and who or what did this, how this happened, and that's when I had to kind of explain my story to them.
Right.
Or this in particular gentleman, but Walt never left my side, ever.
Okay, can you recall what kind of car they drove you back to the crime scene in, Roger? Out of curiosity.
Well, geez, I don't want to, make it sound like, Dragnet or something like that, but I believe it was something like, a big four-door Ford or something like that, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Now, was Walt protective of you at all, or?
Very, very much so, and I've mentioned that, several times, that he just, almost like he was protecting me from something, because he'd either have his hand on my shoulder, or he'd point and say, here, come here, stay here, stand by me, don't move, and he was consistently looking around. And his partner wasn't too far behind. He would walk off and chat with the other gentleman, but he would be right back there as well. But Walt was the one that was the most protective of me.
Can you recall any of the conversations that they might have had with each other, Roger? What they were saying about what was going on there?
No, not really. I hate to be vague like that, but I
no, that's okay. If you don't remember, then that's fine. It's just out of curiosity that I asked you that. So, and they took you back inside the trailer where the girls' bodies were?
Well, it was in the motorhome, and no, they didn't take me inside. There was a gentleman, like I said, outside processing it, and he had, bags and stuff like that, and, paper towels, things like that. And when I looked in, because they called me, took me over to there, and I did see him, and he specifically asked, what, who or what did this, and that's when I seen her laying there, and that's how I know that they weren't dismembered and so forth like these fantastic stories say.
Yeah. So you saw one of the girls laying there, but you didn't see the other one. Is that correct?
Diane was inside the motorhome. That's correct. That's the only one that was inside the motorhome.
Right. Okay. So I want to ask you is, when they took you down to see the creature that was dead up in the tree, you said they had lights up on it?
Well, they didn't purposely take me to see the creature. They had bright lights shining up on it in this tree. So I definitely 100% seen it in the tree, and it was excited. It was dead.
How far away would you recollect that might be from where you were standing?
I suppose. I bet it was 50 yards, maybe a little bit more, maybe 100 yards, but not much more than that.
So about 150 feet?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm assuming that you really couldn't see a whole lot of detail in the creature that was up there still.
Well,
can you remember what position it was in the tree?
Yeah, it was like it was sitting, like it went up in the tree, and it just, like if you or I were sitting in a crotch of a tree, just sitting there, and his head was slumped down into his chest, and arms were hanging down. It was blood all over it. There was blood all over the tree. So it looked like it ran up there. I'm just guessing, but ran up there and turned around and sat down and expired. It would be my guess. Yeah.
And Roger, I have a quick question for you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I'm curious, when Walt brought you back to the scene, who was there first? Did you and Walt get there first, or did the other man? I think you said there was roughly about 20 people on the scene. Who was there first, you or the other gentleman?
Oh, there was other people there by the time we got there.
So they were already there.
Yeah, that's why I say that whoever that was either in the area or they were very close by, because they were well organized, and they got there very quickly.
Now, I know according to some versions of the story is that I think it was some people hiking or in the park. They came upon the scene and they went up to Grand Rivers and they made a call.
Not Grand Rapids.
But that they made a call and some people came out. I wasn't sure if perhaps while you were at the farmer's house, if this could have possibly taken place while you were away.
Well, I can't attest to what happened or didn't happen when I wasn't there. I mean, I just couldn't do that.
Right.
That'd be lying. But I would say no. I'd just say no. I don't think it would be possible.
Probably more likely, maybe the gentleman that took you to his house, whoever it was that the farmer was talking to on the phone, that group of people was dispatched from that phone call.
That's exactly right. Yep, that's exactly right. And like I said, it was a longer conversation than just calling the local police department or something like that. So whoever they contacted, they gave them some pretty detailed information, I'm guessing. And like I said, the calmness of everybody and everything, it wasn't like something like that just happened. It was just like they knew what to do, and it was very, very calm.
Probably a little eerie, even.
That's so odd. That is so odd, because if I saw somebody running down the road at night and I thought, and he's a young person, a teenager, and I thought he was in trouble, of course I'm going to stop and try to help him. But he got in my car and started telling me a crazy story, this fantastical story, I'm going to have a surprise reaction. I'm going to say, oh my goodness, what are we supposed to do? Or, go into some type of nervous reactive way, or I'm going to say, hey, get out of the truck, you're crazy, or something like that. But if someone was to tell me that, and I just said, okay, let's go to my house, I know just what to do. That is so bizarre.
Yeah,
and highly suspect.
And I didn't tell him on the way there what I had seen. I just had told him what had happened, and they need to get help, ambulance. I mean, whoever needed to get there. That was my first request, but I didn't tell him in detail what actually took place as far as these creatures. So,
did you ever tell him during the time that you were at the farmer's house? Did you ever tell him that?
No,
the creatures.
No, not a single word was uttered about that.
Okay. Well, that clears up a lot then. So the farmer wouldn't know. If he doesn't know what exactly has happened, then who would he call? If 4 people have just gotten murdered, I mean, I would call the police. I think anybody in America would call the police.
Absolutely.
So 911 wasn't activated back then, which I don't think it was. I really can't recall. It's been so long.
It was not. We looked it up. It wasn't activated at that time.
Right. So you'd pick up the phone and you'd call the local sheriff office, right?
Absolutely. That's what I would have done. Or dialed 0 for operator back then or something.
Right. But the sheriffs didn't arrive from the phone call. It was Walt and his government-suited buddies.
Can you describe Walt? Because that was a big question people kept writing in last night. Could you describe Walt and his partner?
Yeah, I sure can. Walt, for once, smoked like a freight train. He was a balding gentleman, well-dressed, I suppose in his 50s, graying hair, super nice. The other gentleman, which I wish I remembered his name, was very tall, thin, long sideburns, blue eyes, very, very blue eyes. I remember that. And was always wringing his hands. In other words, he was always like he was kind of nervous. He was always kind of wringing his hands. But if I seen pictures of either one of these gentlemen, I would be able to point them out immediately.
That's curious, pretty curious to me. But did you ever know the farmer's name that picked you up, Roger?
No. But like I was telling John and Elijah, if I could, if I was back in the area and just was traveling gravel roads and seeing the farm, I would know it. I would know it.
Was it on a gravel road?
Yeah, it was on a gravel road. It came off of a gravel road, and it was a lane, I suppose. Oh, I don't know, 150, 200 feet. I mean, it was basically a typical farm. I could describe it, probably describe half the farms in the county, I'm guessing. But I think it was a dairy farm, if I remember right. But because now I have a little bit experience in that, and it looked like there was a smaller expansion barn. So if I remember right, I think it was probably a dairy farm, a small one. So if anybody's listening out there and that rings a bell, let one of us know it. It might be a deal breaker.
Right. How long did it take for you to arrive at this gentleman's farm once you got into the truck?
Only about 15 or 20 minutes. So it wasn't a very long ride.
So about 10 miles or so, you would say.
Yeah, well, mileage I wouldn't be able to tell you, but time frame, I suppose it wasn't any more than 10 or 15 or 20 minutes. And when I was initially picked up, I do remember going over a bridge, either a river or a lake, a canal, something like that. But I do remember that because I was kind of half down on the floorboard and half looking out, and my head was kind of level with the bottom of the window, and I did look out to the right every now and again, and I do remember the bridge, and I believe it was a river. It could have been a stream, but it wasn't too far out of the campground to the right.
Yeah.
If
I'm sure that
if that makes sense to you guys, you're there quite a bit, guys. So I mean, that may ring a bell or maybe not.
Well, I'm thinking that it's been so long. If the gentleman was of age, can you guess his age of the farmer? Was he an older fella?
Yeah, there again, probably at that time 60s.
Yeah, so he's probably passed on by now.
Right.
Probably. So that's probably a.
Can you describe him? Big man, little man?
Yeah, just kind of a common built gentleman. Darker hair, if I remember right. He's wearing a cap. Blue, I believe it was blue jeans, and had a light jacket on, looked like a denim jacket, normal size, probably 5'9", 5'10". Nothing stood out about him. I do remember the truck was in pretty darn good shape, though. That may seem odd, but I'm kind of a car guy, and now I look back on stuff like that, it was sure a nice old Ford pickup.
Nice. Now, how long were you guys planning to stay at LBL?
I think they were just planning to stay there, just kind of test the waters with the new motorhome, things like that. But we were only going to be there, I think, a week maybe, if I remember right. So it wasn't going to be a long extended amount of time. And I think they originally had gotten information about land between the lakes. This is guessing, but it's kind of going off of what I've kind of heard, that they got it from maybe a travel bureau or something like that endorses campgrounds and stuff in different states for vacationing. So I think that's where they got the information and stuff for them to go there.
Now, do you know how many months or years they had been out of the Ordnung before? Because a lot of people find a point of contention to be and everybody keeps saying these Amish people wouldn't be doing that. Well, if they had left the Ordnung, they were no longer Amish. But do you have any idea how long they were out of the Ordnung before you met them?
I would say it would be no more than a year, because they were in that first small van type looking motorhome, backed up to my relative's property there, kind of where that refuge is. So it wasn't any longer than that, I wouldn't think.
Okay. And just to go along with you, supposing that they sold their property, a good friend of ours today said that the Amish definitely sell their property because Lancaster, Pennsylvania, some Amish people tried to sell them a farm.
Yeah, I believe it. I don't see why they wouldn't. Now, I don't know if there's some inner law within within their community that they have to sell back to their own people, or they can sell to whoever they want. And I don't know about that, but it makes sense if the Amish community has first dibs on the property. And that brings up another point. There's been a couple people say, well, the Amish don't carry guns. They don't have guns. They have people, people that are, I guess, appointed to carry guns within the community. Well, that's not true. I mean, that's not even common sense. I mean, these people still hunt and stuff for their food when they have to. So they carry weapons.
Are you still there, Bart?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I don't know much about the Amish, Johnny. So I work close to them every day, and I have for 4 years. But they don't hardly speak. They're nice when you speak to them, and they wave and stuff. But they don't offer any kind of friendship or mingling at all. So I paint the houses that they build. So I really don't know much about the Amish at all to comment on all that. But I'd like to ask Roger a question, getting back to the creature itself, or the creatures. Did they make any sound at all that you could hear during the whole time, from the first shot to when you running out of the park? Did they make any noise?
Just the first shot that Levi made, and that was the only time that it ever made any type of noise, and it was kind of a loud, high pitched scream. I don't know if you kind of like like kind of hoot owls, if you ever hear them going back and forth at each other at night. That's kind of what it sounded like. But that was the only time it made any sound.
Any grunting or anything?
Other than a little bit of breathing, he's breathing hard, but that's it. No noises whatsoever. And I know a lot of people ask if there's any smells or anything like that. No, there absolutely was not any, offensive odors or anything like that.
Right. So going to the time that you were under the motorhome, what exactly did you hear, Roger? Can you describe that in a little bit more detail? I know you were scared and all that, but can you tell us what you heard exactly going on above you?
Well, yeah, I heard what happened. I mean, I heard her screaming a little bit, and a lot of banging going on, and then quiet. I mean, that's I really don't want to remember that, but that's
right. Well, I'm sorry to bring up that memory.
That's okay.
Every little detail was helpful.
That's okay. I understand. But everything was pretty much muffled from underneath the motorhome, but I could hear a little bit of what was going on.
Right. And so you said this thing was coming in through one of the windows?
The back window, yep.
Back window. Okay, one more question about the creature, Roger. How can you be sure that the creature up in the tree was the same one that you shot and ran off? You and Steven shot. So Steven shot with a 20 gauge, you shot with a 410. How do you know it was the same one?
Yeah, that Levi had shot it. What makes me believe it, because that's the exact direction where this particular one ran. It would have been just a dead line straight to where this where this creature would have had to have gone. And I don't know, what if there wouldn't have been another one there. I don't think they would have been wounded. So I that's the only thing I can think of. I mean, where else would it have gone?
Right.
And another one, in the shape that one was in, I just, there couldn't have been, it had to have been that one.
Okay, so the body of the little girl that was found in the opposite direction.
What's that?
Was the body of the little girl, where was she found in relation to where the creature was in the tree? Was it close to that, or was it a pretty good ways away in the opposite direction?
Just in back of the motorhome, and kind of back where they were trying to get some wood earlier, and that was Levi and Steven, and they were trying to just gather up a little bit of wood. That's where she was, and I don't know how she got out of the motorhome. I don't know if this thing that did come through the back threw her out the window, if she tried to escape out the window that was broke when she was, seeing what was happening to her mom, or if this thing, the second one, which I didn't see, exited with her in hand out of the motorhome and put her there. So I don't know. I can't attest to how she actually got there.
Right.
But she was not there, when this all started.
Okay. So that's pretty interesting. And that's what makes you believe that there was two creatures, because one had already ran off, and at the same time it was disappearing. You heard another one coming through the back window of the motorhome. So that's what makes you so sure that there were two creatures there, even though you didn't see two. Correct?
Absolutely. Yes, I know there was another one coming through the back window because they were both screaming, especially Diane. She said it's coming through the back window. It's coming through the window. Then Connie started screaming.
Right. Okay, well, that's pretty traumatizing for you. And I'm sorry you had to go through all that. It's great for you to be talking about it. I think it not only does it help you, it helps let people know that these things are out there and what they could possibly do to somebody. So I think it's a good thing that you're doing, coming forward and telling your story, Roger. I just want to let you know that. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Roger, do you think it's possible, and I know you have no way of knowing, but do you think it's possible that other places where a lot of these people come up missing, they could be meeting similar fates?
Well, I'm slowly learning more and more about these things, and absolutely, if these creatures can do what they did to this family and myself, I have no doubt. And I know there's people that say, well, this wasn't a dog, man. It was we talked about it before. Some weird thing starts with a G. I think it is. I can't.
A Genoska.
Yeah, it's some. There's several different things I've been told. Is that you didn't see a dog, man? You seen this? Well, it wasn't that. It was this. And I don't know. I can't tell these people that they're wrong because I don't know what I see.
Everybody's favorite cryptid is what they want you to have seen. Like Josh kept saying, it was a devil monkey, and
you'll find a lot of other that say it's a gugway.
Yeah, a lot of people saying a gugway or a Genoska or other.
Gugway. That's it. That's what a lot of the people are saying that it was. But I haven't even looked one of those up, so I don't even know what they look like. But
I think I even heard it was theorized a goat man was out there.
Yeah, somebody's even said it was a goat man, but I think a lot of people, whatever their favorite cryptid is what they're hoping it was, rather than concentrate on the fact that something was there, something done it.
Well, you think that's crazy? On one of the comments there on Paranormal Roundtable, one of those guys that you guys can go back and look at the comments. He said that I quoted saying it was a frogman.
You've never said that.
You've never said that.
I told him you're being ridiculous.
He probably misheard you say dog man.
Well, I mean, I don't mean to laugh or make light of it, but I mean, 'cause, who knows? Maybe there is something out there that's frog related. But I've never once said it was a frog man. So I think people just need to listen and pay attention.
Right, there is such thing as a frog man. But
well, unless you're
no one's ever mentioned a frogman attacking anyone or killing anyone. So no, definitely not a frogman. He probably just misunderstood you saying dog man. Would be my take on that. But I just can't get over how quickly these officials arrived at the scene after the farmer called. I mean, it doesn't add up.
It almost sounds like there's somebody in the area already.
Right. So Fort Campbell's only 38 miles from LBL, about a 45-minute drive. But by air, they could have been there in a matter of minutes.
There was no aircraft or anything there, but like I said, it was 45 minutes, but it wasn't any longer than an hour. So I know it was within that 1 hour to 45 minutes time frame. So, and that includes the phone call that was. The phone call was probably 10 minutes long at least.
Johnny, what do you think about that? Doesn't that sound strange to you?
Well, and I hate to be a conspiracy theorist here, but considering I've heard that Fort Campbell has a couple of FEMA camps set up in LBL somewhere. I would not be surprised if there's not a permanent detachment of the U.S. government's finest there somewhere constantly.
Right. Well, I never thought much about the military connection, but a good friend of mine mentioned it to me, named Mark. You know him. And I've been thinking about it, and it just makes sense. How they got there so quickly, and the way they handled the scene, the way they handled Roger, that has to be military. So, what are we left with? Why would they be involved?
I don't know, but something I've wondered is he said that Walt sort of seemed extra protective of him. Now, does that mean that somebody would have been a lot harsher towards him had Walt not been there, just to make sure that there wasn't a witness?
Well, that goes back. That was one of Jody's main contentions was, why didn't they just kill you, Roger, instead of leave a loose end? So I don't know. That is a good question, but no one can answer that other than Walt. So I'm certainly glad that they didn't. And Roger's still with us today to get this off his chest. But it is kind of strange. The whole thing is, of course, it's bizarre and terrifying, but there's so many odd elements to it as well. I just wanted to ask you, Roger.
And gentlemen,
aside from this, have you ever had anything strange happen to you in your life? Have you ever seen anything strange or, had any kind of unexplained experiences after this?
No, not that I couldn't, somehow debunk, other than, just like anybody else, you see something in the sky and you think, well, shooting stars, no, I guess everybody sees something that they can't explain, but no, I've honestly never ever had any inkling that anybody's ever been following me or tapping in my phones or nothing like that. I've never had that feeling ever.
And Roger, this is something that a lot of people have been curious about. Now, you say that you've never told anybody this before, told them the whole story. Now, when your parents were probably contacted and they sent your uncle to come pick you up, did you just tell your parents that the people that you were traveling with had been murdered?
Well, no, and like I'd said, Walt had talked to my uncle and explained to him it was a bad accident. And that's what my parents were told, too. And this is where I have to say I think it's very odd. Nothing was ever said about this. Anything was ever brought up by my parents or my siblings or anything. It was almost like they I don't know how to explain it. It was just never spoke of. Not one single time was it ever spoke of.
That's extremely unusual. Extremely.
That part of it is very unusual. But I never questioned it because I never wanted to talk about it. It was a blessing to me.
Right. Well, that's, people talk. That's one thing you can count on them to do.
Exactly.
And why they wouldn't, talk about an accident that killed the family that you were with, I don't know.
And I don't even know, and I don't even know if they knew that anybody was killed or deceased. I don't even know if they knew that. But I do know that they were told that I was involved in a bad accident.
Oh, okay. So you don't know what they told your uncle and your family.
Well, I know for a fact because I was standing there when my uncle arrived and Walt was with me, and that's exactly what he had told him. He was involved in a bad accident.
And that was enough.
That was it.
For 40 years.
That was it.
Wow.
That's the most curious thing about the whole thing, I believe.
Yeah, there's a lot of curious things going on here that, at first listen to the story you wouldn't think, but is any of your family still alive, Roger? Your uncle or your parents or anybody?
My uncle has passed, and I have one living parent. My dad's passed.
Okay. Well, I mean, is it an option of you to ask your dad if you're on speaking terms or whatever, exactly what they told them happened back then when they brought you home?
My dad's passed. So
okay, your mother. I'm sorry, your mother.
I've never brought the subject up, and I don't know how I'd bring it up to her, but I guess I could.
Well, you know, it'd be interesting to see if she even remembers it.
Oh, I'm sure she does, but
that is really, really, really strange.
I don't know how I'd approach her with the question after all these years. Yeah. I mean, just like what I'm doing now. I mean, it's got to be done sooner or later. But I guess that's a good that's a fair request, and I guess maybe I could.
Yeah, that would be. I'd be interested to know exactly what they were told back then. But you know, it's not something that's really, really make or break anything. You know, if you get a chance, ask her that, and just to see what she says. And I'd be really interested to know what she says.
Yeah, that really would be interesting, actually.
So what does your wife and kids think about this now that they know?
My kids still don't know all the details. My wife knows the full details. Of course, she's my rock and very supportive of everything. The kids, what they do know, you know, sometimes it's they're like my critics that are out in the cryptic world right now. Do they believe it? And you know, would I at that age, if my parents or anybody kind of brought that subject up, you know, would I believe it? I don't know. I'd probably have a hard time, to be quite honest, believing something like that. So I think as you know, my older ones, I think they know something happened. But I haven't given, you know, full details. My wife is the only one that, you know, of my family here that knows exactly what happened.
Now, something Elijah was wanting to bring to the table here is, we touched on this briefly today when we were talking. You know, a lot of people always say that there's never anybody that ever heard any hint or rumor that there was a survivor.
Well,
but we had someone who commented, and I think you may have corresponded back with them, who actually mentioned a survivor.
I've actually been talking to this gentleman for a little while. He's a little bit of a friend, and he's actually retired law enforcement, and he was actually a former hostage negotiator. So he does have some impressive credits behind him, and he told me that, and I'm quoting this, and he actually commented on YouTube a while back, but I imagine a lot of people missed where he made this statement. But I want to part with something I had been told a few years ago. Let's see. I have searched long and hard for anyone in the area that knows law enforcement, BLM, Rangers, and military. Finally, one person, whom I shall always keep his privacy, told me that his grandfather was a deputy sheriff at the time of this incident. His grandfather told him there was a survivor of this incident, and that one of these creatures were shot by the victim or survivor, and that the boy was approximately 14 or 15 years of age. I have prayed long and hard that this survivor would one day come forth. And that's an impressive statement to be connected to this story if he is telling the truth, and he does seem like an honest gentleman, you know.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, I remember that comment being made, and I did try to correspond with him, but I don't believe he answered me back.
I believe his wife may have been having some health challenges lately.
Sure.
Okay,
But
so
but that kind of adds a little credence to your story, Roger.
And the
That
fact
would
that
be monumental.
and the fact that he has such an impressive work history behind him, that he's, a hostage negotiator, former law enforcement, that definitely adds credence to what he says.
Absolutely. Yes,
And he actually put his name on the comment on the post, so he wasn't trying to hide anything.
That's correct. I remember that. Yeah,
I'd like to talk to this guy.
yes, that would be amazing.
We've been trying to set up some times to talk with him.
Seems like none of our schedules ever work out right.
Yeah.
I talked with him a bit through text the other night when we was at the hospital with my daughter, but hard to carry on a conversation when you're worried about your child.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. That's my only fear in life, And I'm like Roger. Roger said that he didn't let this experience ruin his who he was. He was born and raised in hunting and fishing, and he never let it stop him. It's just like me. I didn't let anything that happened to my family stop me. I was still out in the woods, still fishing, still arrowhead hunting, and that's pretty impressive.
Hey, Bart, before we go any further, we introduced you, but we didn't tell people who may not know who you are.
Nobody knows who I am, Johnny. Don't worry about it.
You think so?
No.
Well,
Maybe like a couple dozen friends that know who I am. So.
Well, Bart wrote some really great books. He wrote Mysterious Kentucky, The Inhumanoids, which is a fantastic book.
I've actually got that book right here in my hands. It's
Yes.
a great book.
And he also is the first person to have reported on this story that's related to Roger. And he made a film some years back called Hunt the Dog Man. And I'm looking at the picture. Bart, did you draw this Dog Man picture?
Kind of a short, stubby face, long hair on the head, longish hair.
Yes, if you're referring to the one, are you talking about the one on the DVD cover?
Yes. You realize that looks startlingly like what Roger says he saw.
Yeah, so let me look at this DVD to make sure you're not looking at the logo. The Grindel Films has a logo. Okay, so this, you probably don't have the one that I have. I have one with a picture. It's like a half face.
We're looking in the book right now. Elijah, can you text or send him and Roger a picture of this?
I'm going to send you both a picture.
Yeah, what you're looking at, Johnny, is a sketch that I did with Jan Thompson, working closely with her. And it took me like 3-4 weeks to get this sketch just right for her, right? So she had to have it perfect, and it had to look exactly like what she claimed she saw. So there you have it.
Well, that does have a similitude to the picture that Roger says looks close to what he saw.
Yeah.
Roger, when you get this picture, can you tell us what you think?
Absolutely. Yep, I can look at it right when we're talking.
Trying to send it over right now, but my phone's slow.
Yeah, we're like I was telling Roger, the tornado sirens have been going off here where we live, so we may be talking through a tornado right now. We don't know.
Oh my goodness!
Boy, be safe.
Hopefully you're all in a safe spot.
We live in a holler, so that's about the best we could hope for.
Just get in the bathtub and put the mattress over you guys.
I'm gonna make sure April gets in a bathtub and gets covered up before anybody does.
That's right. Her first, and then Gabrielle, and then you and Elijah, and then we can carry on.
Yeah, I don't worry too much about me. My wife tells people I'm harder to kill than Jason from Friday the 13th.
Well, hope you guys are all right down there. We're having some minor storms here too. Right now, it's just raining. It's been raining all day here.
So Barton, I know we had talked a while back about getting together and maybe doing some hanging out together around LBL. Do you have anything special plans you want to do?
Me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, next month. I have a vacation from work. I'm going down to LBL, and I'm taking my sword and my spear with me. And hopefully you guys, the good Lord willing, can come down.
I look forward to it.
I would love that. That'd be
That is the one thing that I am clinging to the hopes of, is getting to go hang out with you.
Praying for your wife every night that we can get down there, and me and my wife, we want to take her creek walking, and hopefully she'll find a nice arrowhead. And then that's sure to lift her spirits.
Oh, she loves doing stuff like that.
Always lifts my spirits when I find a big, nice arrowhead in a creek. It's like catching a 10-pound bass. Only better. So hopefully we can do that. But yeah, I'm going down there, and a lot of people on the show last night, they don't know who I am. They don't know anything about me, and they kind of think I'm probably crazy wanting to take up my sword and my spear down there. But from what I've read and gathered, that would probably be more adequate protection than a gun. But of course, if these things can be killed by a 20 gauge and a 410, then maybe I should just take my 12 gauge and a couple of deer slugs. I don't know.
Well, now, Elijah and I, we posted links last night on Paranormal Roundtable to some videos we've been watching of people doing experiments with 410s and birdshot and things like that. And he made up a dummy body. The gentleman in the video did. He had these steaks and spare ribs and a beef heart and stuff, and he kind of mixed it all together to simulate like a human body and the density of it. Covered it in a jean jacket, and then he stood back 15 feet and shot with the smallest bird shot imaginable for a gun that you could get. I think it's a number 9 shot. And
yes, it was number 9.
These definitely. Pellets, I mean, they just wrecked the ribs and they wrecked the steaks that simulated like the stomach muscles. And 4 of the pellets actually penetrated the heart. So it's definitely possible to hurt something with a 410. I believe it was you I was telling that a 410 has, with number 9 shot, has 959 foot-pounds of pressure. That's a lot. And a 20 gauge, I think he said, was 1,785.
Right.
So
how far away was this creature when you shot it, Roger? What's that? How far away was the creature when you shot it?
About that, it was about 15 feet, no more than that.
15 feet? That's really close.
It is close, and like I was trying to tell Jody, and especially with him being in law enforcement and the military, if you know anything about the 410s, their grouping, because they are smaller gauge.
Right.
410 stays together real close for quite some distance. And of course, they don't have the power of a 12 gauge or a 20 or 28, 16, anything like that. But at close range with such a narrow pattern, those things keep their pattern so tight. It's just like getting drilled with a slug from a 45. Actually, a lot of people will take, especially the old single shots like that or the double barrels, and you can run a Colt 45 long through them. Of course, it's a smooth bore, so the accuracy is horrible. It just kind of wobbles out the, you could defend yourself with it, but you can shoot a Colt 45 long out of a 410.
I did not know that.
I used to use 410s to hunt rabbits when I was younger.
Yep. Well, that's my dad. That was kind of a rite of passage. You had to be able to hit something with a 410 before you were graduated to, a 20 gauge and then a 12 gauge. So right. I know what a 410 will do, and I'm a good shot with one. And they'll take down any game you want to take down. They even have deer slugs for them. They have buckshot for them. They're not a toy.
Definitely not.
Now, did either one of y'all get the picture yet?
I did, and that's eerie. The ears are absolutely placed perfectly. Yeah, that's very eerie. If I had to say, if any other thing in the picture I sent you, that's it. That's what I seen.
Wow. So Elijah, let's clarify, is that actually the picture that I drew from Jan Thompson's Beast of LBL chapter in my book?
Well, it was in the section, let's see. Let me find it in the book again.
It says 06 down in the right-hand corner.
Yeah, that's it. It's just a picture of the face and just a picture of the head, right?
Yeah, the upper toward that chest area, yep.
Yeah, Elijah and I was looking at this the other day, and we noticed that it looked similar to the picture that Roger had seen and said looked like what he saw, and we wanted to ask him, and now we finally got the opportunity if it maybe looked like that.
Barton, would it be possible if just for this video we could show a picture of your drawing just so people could kind of get an idea of what it looks like?
Elijah, thank you so much for having enough respect to ask me that. Yes. So right now I'm giving you full permission to use any of my artwork that you like.
Well, thank you.
Any of your videos without any. You don't have to pay me anything. I don't do any of this for money. Yes, and thank you for asking me that. So usually everybody, all my artist friends, they're leery about putting their artwork online because I always tell them, I said, look, once you put that picture online, guess what? It belongs to the whole world. You can't police the internet. It's too big. So I see my artwork everywhere.
I see it quite often.
Yeah. So I don't spend much time on the internet anymore or Facebook or anything like that. But usually every time I get on there or YouTube, there's somebody using my video or my pictures from the top networks right down to the regular guy that's just putting out the podcast.
Wow.
So yeah, I've had to get onto a couple of networks for using my stuff without my permission.
Well, I will make sure to give full credit.
Well, I appreciate that. You have my permission definitely to use anything of mine that you like, words or pictures.
And if you ever need to use any of my artwork, it's floating around a little bit. You have full permission as well, my friend.
Yeah, Elijah's artwork's starting to show up in other people's videos.
Yeah, when we did the Werewolf Springs video, I drew a bunch of pictures for that just so I'd have stuff to work with. There's another Werewolf Springs video that popped up, and hey, there's some of my artwork in here. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, it is kind of cool, and it's flattering that people like it enough to use it. But I tell all my buddies, once you put that picture online, it belongs to the whole world.
Pretty much, yeah.
You can put that copyright, those disclaimer sign right there on it, but it doesn't mean anything. People will take that picture, and they'll use it for their whatever they want to use it for, and they won't ask permission. So I kind of let it, it's kind of flattering. So I don't really let it bother me much. But when a big network takes my artwork and puts it on their show, and they get millions of dollars of programming, they should at least say this picture was drawn by Barton Nunnelly.
Absolutely.
Or whatever. Or at least say, hey, can I use this just like Elijah just did? Can I use this picture on our TV show? Of course, I would say yes, but it's the act that you show enough respect to ask somebody for their work, and it really means a lot, and I appreciate that.
And Roger, just for clarification, that did look similar to what you've seen?
Very, very similar.
What about the teeth, Roger? This thing has fangs hanging out of its mouth, and what you saw had fangs as well?
Yeah, no, like I said, they were huge, overly large, like you see some of these fantastic pictures drawn of these, big snarling werewolves, but pretty close. It's pretty darn close to being the same thing. Of all the other ones, and I'm surprised I didn't run across that when I was Googling the other one, but other than the one I had sent them, that's spot on. The ears are down, like I said. More towards the side of the head, not up on top. The stubby snout, the fangs. The fangs might look a little bit long, but they're pretty close to what I'd seen. And I also mentioned, I don't know if this was just how you drew that particular picture, but people were asking, did I see glowing red eyes or yellow or green? And I didn't see any of that. The quick glimpse I did get face on was I just seen black. So they could have been brown, any dark color like that. But I know shears were black.
Yeah. So how did that picture, Roger, was Jan described to me what she saw via text message or email, and I drew a rough sketch, and I sent her the picture, and she would write me back, change this to this, make this look like that, and we went back and forth just like a police sketch artist, only over the computer.
So
and
maybe Jan did see something.
Changing till I said, now, till she said it was perfect, and then I would always ask her, I always do when I do a witness sketch, okay, so this is what you saw, yes. And I say, well, if there's one thing that you could change on this picture that would make it look more like what you saw, what would it be? And when they say nothing, then I know I'm done. That's it. That's a process that I use with Jan to do that. And she was very adamant and clear that it did not look like a regular werewolf with a wolf's head. It had a short, kind of mashed-in looking muzzle.
Mm-hmm.
Close set, round, black eyes. And so...
That's exactly right. That's exactly the same thing that I've seen.
Wow, so that's some kind of indication for Jan then, because, your story is completely opposite of what everybody has been saying. But it's possible that you might have had a different experience, and you might be describing something entirely different than what they were, because, to be honest, I've heard at least 4 or 5 different accounts of people getting killed by these things in the LBL area.
Could you tell us a little bit about the 76 incident?
Well, so we were down there 15 years ago with Jan Thompson doing the Hunt the Dog Man, which I'm going to send you guys a copy of. And while I was there, she got a phone call. And she said, Bart, here's this gentleman. He wants to talk to you. He knows what we're doing here. And he wants to talk to you. He has something to tell you. So I took the call, and I was kind of skeptical, of course, a little bit dubious that she might have had it set up. But I listened to the guy talk, and he was very, very sick and didn't have very long to live. And he said that back in 1976, him and a bunch of his friends were partying out on the lake, and it was well after dark, and they started hearing screams coming from the bank. So they got in their boat, and there was a tent, and there was a couple camping on the other side of the lake, and they got in their boat, him and 3 or 4 buddies, and rowed over there. And when they got there, they found 2 bodies, 2 dead bodies of the couple, and they were pretty brutally murdered. And there was a lot of blood and stuff, and he said it scarred him for life, and he didn't know who to tell. He told Jan that, and this is her story, come from her contact, by the way. I had nothing to do with any of this. All I know is what people have told me, because as many times as I've been down there, I've never had anything happen. And maybe I just sleep with by the grace of God, and I don't worry about anything when I'm out in the woods, because I know that I'm protected. So, but anyway, this guy was really, he really sounded sincere, and he said it scarred him for life, and he really needed to tell somebody before he died.
But they didn't see any creatures or anything?
No, they just heard the screams. That's as I remember it.
And that'd be terrifying. I never knew there was so much that went on in this place until, I started coming out with my experience. I can't fathom this place. I don't know. It's like its own world.
Right. So it's like that throughout the entire state, Roger, not just LBL. I'm going to send you a copy of my book, Mysterious Kentucky, and it'll give you a little groundwork as to just how prevalent these unexplained phenomena are in here. Right there, you have everything. You experience everything: Bigfoot, Dogman, UFOs, ghosts, water monsters, unexplained aquatic anomalies. Just the whole. And I've seen a lot of this myself. I've written about everything that I've seen just about in Mysterious Kentucky. Now, I got a little flack from people reading the book. It's just like, this is Mysterious Nunnelly or Mysterious Kentucky. Well, where am I supposed to write about my experiences is not in my own book, right? So, I don't listen to the criticism very much. I just tried to put out a good book that was true, and everything in it was true or told to me as true. So send everybody a copy of that and see what you think about it. Jan's story is in there. She wrote it in her own words, that chapter. So.
Hey, Roger, so many people tend to gloss over the fact that these were real people that this happened to with real lives. Can you humanize them a little bit and just tell us a little bit about them as people and what kind of folk they were, and maybe what did they like? How did they act? Were they a close family? Just put a human face on it if you can.
Music.
I'm sorry?
Did they listen to music? What kind of music did they like? Sure. A few details like that would be helpful.
Sure. I've mentioned a little bit before, but like I said, Levi was definitely, you could tell he was the dominant one of the family. They followed his cues pretty close. They seemed very happy. To me, it seemed like they were getting a new lease on life, so to speak. There was light at the end of the tunnel for some reason from what they were coming from, but they were quiet. Like I said, they were very quiet. They did it as far as music. The radio wasn't on a single time in the motorhome all the way down. So I don't know if that was just they just didn't listen to music that particular time, or they just didn't in general. But there's really not much to tell. They were just plain, common people. They were quiet, and they loved each other very much.
Was Connie big for her age? Was she a small girl?
She was a smaller girl. She was 9 years old. She was a bit small for her age, and I don't know. Like I've said this like a broken record, and I apologize, but for the short time that I knew him, she just sunk into my heart. I don't know why.
And we're not trying to bring up painful memories. We just want people to remember them as real people.
Yeah, it has to be talked about, and this is how even at my age, I mean, I'm still healing, I guess, but I don't know why, because I was better friends with Steven, obviously, because he was younger than me, but we had a lot of the same interests, and man, he was full of life. I mean, he wanted to be a pilot, so evidently, while he was at his young age, he must have somehow got a hold of a book or something. He didn't explain much on how, but that was his. He wanted to be a pilot. Connie was just a great kid. Diane was just a nice, clean woman. Didn't wear any kind of makeup. And I think they kind of got that. They took that from the Amish community. Very plain, very, very plain people. No jewelry, no colognes, perfumes, anything like that. So I know that doesn't give a real good description of them, but and they didn't talk a lot about what what their future plans was, I guess, other than staying in this motorhome and just kind of traveling. And I guess a person could look at, were they running from something? It didn't seem like it, I guess, but I think they just wanted to travel. They were probably, lack of a better term, locked down for so long in the Amish world that they just wanted to be gone.
Maybe live a little bit.
Exactly. That's exactly it. That they wanted to live. I knew Diane, if she could have expressed herself more, and I think Levi kind of held that down. And I don't want to have him come off as being a mean person or anything like that, but he was very, very strict. And like I told you guys earlier, when he talked, they kind of looked at the ground, or they never looked at him. And see, when I was growing up, it was just the opposite. My dad made me look right square in his eyes when I was talking to him, and they didn't. They always just kind of looked at the ground when they were being spoken to by him. So I don't know if that was just that people say that's respect or if it's abuse or what it was. But I think she had inspirations too. I think she wanted to enjoy life, but I wish I could tell you more, but that's it.
How did they dress? I'm assuming they didn't dress like Amish anymore.
No, they did. Now Levi's the only one that dressed close to that, but he just was just plain jeans and a plain shirt and just a tan jacket. Everything was plain about all of them. Diane still wore a dress. I mean, not an Amish, traditional dress or anything like that,
but something modest.
Yeah, oh yeah, very, very. It's something you would see on any woman of that time frame. Nothing real bright or anything like that, but Stephen, they just all dressed, plain but normal.
Yeah, that was one of my questions too. What were they wearing that day? I guess you pretty much just described that.
Right.
Now, something else that we'd talked about was you had a theory one time, I believe, that maybe the way that people started telling that the little girl Connie ended up in the tree was that the creature had a little piece of her sweater in its paw or hand.
That's correct. A piece of her green sweatshirt or sweater that she had on earlier, and there was my theory is that there was a little fold-out table that was set up just to the rear of the motorhome, and Connie was the only one that kind of got out and actually was bouncing around, jumping around the campsite. Like I said, I was inside most of the time, but they were trying to get stuff ready, firewood and so forth. But I believe, my theory is how this creature got the piece of her sweatshirt is because she was not wearing it. I don't know if it picked it up, had it in his hand or something. I can't intelligently answer that question, but it did have a piece of the green sweater or sweatshirt in its hand, its paw, claw, whatever you want to call it. So I don't know. If I said I knew, I lied.
That would tell us that it's not the same creature that ran away when you shot it. That was probably the creature that come in through the back window of the motorhome and attacked the girls. Because the creature that you shot, if it ran straight and ran away, would not have any article of clothing that belonged to the girls.
Absolutely correct.
So it's possible that the creature up in that tree was not the one you shot, but maybe was dispatched by the people who arrived at the scene first.
I hate to disagree with you on that, but I can't see that. I can't see that happening. I guess I'm not trying to be narrow-minded by any means, but I don't know. Then where would the one that we had shot? I mean, where'd it go? I mean, I'm sure they would have found it. I don't know
if it died, but I just can't understand how the one that was out in the front yard or the front of the motorhome that got shot twice and ran away, how it could come to have a piece of Connie's clothing in his hand.
You're exactly right. The only thing I can think of is if it was maybe grabbed it on the way by. I don't know. I'm not trying to make stuff up to make it sound right. It's just I'm theorizing in my own head how that would have happened as well. So I'm as stumped as you are. But it was there was a piece of the sweater found.
Wow, I didn't know that.
I don't believe what came through what came through the back and was the one that ended up in the tree. I don't see that.
Okay.
And I'm respectfully disagreeing with you. I'm not.
Right. Yeah, that's fine, Roger. That's fine. Anything I say that you disagree with, please just tell me and get your stance out there for people to know how you feel about it. But who knows? I mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to find answers and trying to find the truth, and like I have been forever, 20 years at least on this subject. So.
And who can say how an animal's going to act?
Right.
Or why it does what it does.
Exactly. Plus, he saw it from 150 feet or more away. So if you have two creatures that look similar, if not identical, of the same species, then you wouldn't be able to tell one apart from the other at 150 or 200 feet away. You know, it's unlikely. So a lot of people think that 50 yards, well, that doesn't sound very far away, but really it's 150 feet.
Yeah, there's 3 feet in a yard.
Right.
Right, exactly. So, or 30 yards, you know, it's that doesn't sound very far, but really that's almost 100 feet away. And just to see things clearly, especially at night, that far away is it's very difficult to do, you know, and accurately judge the distance. So judging distances, and that's one of the hardest things that I've run into that witnesses can do. So almost everyone falls either short or far of what they think. So if someone says, well, it was 30 yards away, and I go and I look and I step it off, it's really 50 yards away or 55. So it's really hard to judge accurately distances.
It is, and color is hard to, you know,
and
judge.
Right, and then nighttime would be twice as hard.
Yep.
I know, because I've been trying to do this accurately myself for 30 years. So how far away was this thing when I saw it? Well, I could throw a rock and hit it, so it must have been within 70 feet, right? Or something like that. I can imagine myself stepping off the distance between the road and the last time I saw Bigfoot. And I know it was about 30 yards, or 90 feet. But it's really hard to do that. So it's possible that it was a different creature. But like you say, Roger, if you don't agree with that, that's great. We just need to know that. I think that it is a possibility, though, especially since it had Connie's a piece of her clothing, that it could have been the other creature, which probably looked identical or similar at the very least to the first one.
Yep, and I've even seen one person had commented that how do I even know that it was another creature, another dog? And there again, since I did not physically see the second one, you know, it makes my mind kind of, why would it be anything else? So I don't know, but I can't attest to that. So.
Yeah, all you can tell us is the truth, Roger. That's all we want, and that's all we expect. And we respect you for that, and respect you for having enough courage to come out here and tell the public the truth. And I hope there's no bad ramifications that come with it.
Now, do you have any idea what happened to the other to the creature that was dead in the tree?
Are you speaking to me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. No, I don't. I really don't know what happened. I do remember, like I said, that they had those big bright lights were shining up on it, and there was a lot of chatter and stuff going on. But after that, I do not know.
Now, about how high up in the tree was it?
Oh, probably 20 feet, I suppose.
And I don't reckon you ever got to see anybody actually taking it down out of the tree either, right?
No, I did not. And that, if you remember, that was one of my questions. I had asked a couple of times. And of course, it'd be so hard to find a particular stump. But I'm almost 99.9% positive that tree was cut down immediately after. And that was why I had that question. You know, if they cut the stump high, you know, in the particular area where I described, you know, that very well could have. I mean, if it just looked out of place, I mean, a tree cut down where it doesn't look like it should have been, that probably would have been the tree. But like you say, everything's overgrown there now. It's see, in my mind, it's not that way. So I shouldn't, you know, I shouldn't think, well, why can't they find that, you know? So it's completely different now, I'm sure.
After almost 40 years, the land has changed, and we've even been told that there's been some cosmetic changes intentionally done to the landscape.
Yeah, that's eerie. You almost wonder if maybe, you know, without pointing fingers, if maybe they know something. I mean, somebody has to know something. Somebody has to know something.
Now, didn't we talk to a woman running one of the centers there? I can't remember which one, and we just kind of casually, you know, asked him if there had been anything weird down there, not specifically the story, and she said, there's some weird things down here.
It's possible, but again, with my Lyme disease, son, I forget a lot.
I know some similar interaction happened, but I can't remember exactly how it was worded.
I've asked the attendant to that welcome center. Every attendant that I've seen there, I've asked the same question, Elijah.
Was it
been told, no, nothing's happening here. Everything that you hear is a lie and just made up. And people that were looking into stuff like that were really not welcome there. That's what I was told.
Ooh.
Elijah, I think what you're talking about is that visiting center where they had that little stuffed Bigfoot.
It's like a wooden carved Bigfoot.
Was it a wooden carved? That was out near Hematite.
Nature station, right?
Yes, the nature station. And that lady did act like there is some bizarre things.
We didn't go into a whole lot of detail, but I remember she did allude to some strangeness there in LBL.
But, yeah, she didn't offer any details.
Does anybody know how long these weird happenings have been going on? Is it since it's been built, or does anybody feel the land was cursed? Or like I said, it's almost like this place is its own realm, its own world. It's fascinating but scary.
There's stories that go back to say that there's people like French Canadians and in the 1700s encountered things that they called rougarous down there.
Roger, I'm not sure if you've ever heard before, but used to, before this area was called Tennessee, there's an organization, I think this is how it went down, an organization that came up here. They were actually Hendersons, but they were from the Transylvania Company, and they struck a deal with the Native Americans here to buy everything, I think, north of the Cumberland River. And one of the Indians, his name was Dragon Canoe. He took great offense at this deal that was going down, and he said that, you know, the area they wanted to buy was a dark and bloody ground. But this land over here, interestingly enough, doesn't really add much, but it was actually called Transylvania
for a short time. And it's odd that in this area you have the Kelly Goblins, you have the creatures at LBL, you have the thing at Werewolf Springs, you have the Critter of Carr Creek, you have the Bell Witch, all in just a very small cluster.
And then
not to mention the first and only case of a flying saucer allegedly killing someone. Right, that happened to Knox County. Charles Mantell, he was a decorated World War II veteran pilot, and he was chasing a UFO and ended up crashing his plane and dying. So we have a monument for him and everything, a little plaque there.
I did not know that.
Yeah, somehow that one eluded us.
I really, Elijah, it sounded like when you were talking about the dark and bloody ground. It sounded like you were reading that right from my book, Mysterious Kentucky Volume 2.
Nope.
I mean, almost word for word, that's what I said in there.
There's
this
been
land was supposed to be cursed. The Indians said that, so they didn't have a word in their language for owning land, right? They didn't even know the concept of owning the land. So when they sold it, they really didn't know what they were doing. And Dragon Canoe told the members of the Transylvania Company that was buying the land, the Henderson, that, yeah, he would sell them the land, but they could never really own it, and they could never settle here because it was full of spirits, and it was a dark and bloody ground. So Kentucky's always had a reputation for being just a lot of unexplained phenomena happening here.
Well, a lot of that dark and bloody ground actually carried over into Tennessee, too, Bart.
Yeah, exactly.
Interestingly, from what I've been told, we are actually distantly related to Dragon Canoe.
What?
Really?
I think my grandmother mentioned that.
Yeah, she's like been big into that genealogy and stuff, and
She wouldn't like me mentioning her on the show.
yeah, and she found out we're actually distant kin to John Bell as well.
Wow. Well, that's better than John Wilkes Booth.
I suppose.
Yeah, I'm distant kin to him through my grandmother.
Oh, wow.
So your ancestry sounds better than mine, but yeah, Roger, Kentucky's always been like this, and it's not just LBL; it's the entire state. And I'll send you a couple of books. I'm not sure I have a copy of Mysterious Kentucky Volume 2 to send you guys, but if I do, I'll send that along with the DVD and Volume 1. You can get a kind of an
Now,
idea
did Bart
of
write that book that I've got, Dark and Bloody Ground?
No, that was something Coleman, not Lauren Coleman, but his last name was Coleman.
Jerry Coleman?
I'm not quite sure, actually. I have to check.
What's the name of the book again?
Dark and Bloody Ground.
Okay, I don't know. So Jerry Coleman is Lauren's brother, and he writes about unexplained mysteries too, but I don't think he's written anything in a while.
Elijah's running off to the other room to try to find that book now.
Oh, it won't take long.
So is this Jan Thompson? Is she still?
Yes, she's still alive,
out and about. Okay.
yes, but she retired from the whole cryptid community after the Hunt the Dog Man, because my partner, he just straight up did not believe her and told her that, and she just took it really personally, and she thought that I should defend her story, right? But I told her, I said, Jana, this is your story. It's up to you to defend it. I can't defend something that I haven't lived myself. But if you've lived the story, then you defend it, and you stand up to the bitter end and defend it till nobody has any more questions. But she didn't do that. She chose to just kind of retire, which was unfortunate.
All right, we have an answer. It's actually written by Mr. Christopher Coleman. Strange Tales of the Dark and Bloody Ground.
Well, I've never heard of that. Maybe I should get that.
It's got
pretty
some
good.
interesting stories in it.
We're actually include one of these stories that's eerily similar to the Bell Witch in our second part of our Bell Witch series.
And it's a cryptid-related thing with a dog-like creature.
Yeah, it's that one seemingly, well, not seemingly, got into the supernatural. This family was in their cabin, and they seen this black dog starting to come up through their floorboards, and it was, of all things, brandishing a gun and walking around on two legs, and it fired at them, and it missed, and the bullet got lodged in, I think, their potbelly stove, and it went back through the floorboard again.
Yes.
And they had a lot of weird stuff happen on that property.
But they had been cursed, similarly to the Bell Witch family.
Right. What year was that book written in?
Let's see here.
Is it a new book or is it an old book?
I think it's fairly modern. Copyright 1998.
Okay.
Yeah, and Roger, this whole area around here has a lot of supposed dogmen sightings, because you got LBL, you got Werewolf Springs, and in Kentucky you got Harlan, Kentucky, Daniel Boone National Forest,
the Waddy Werewolf up in Kentucky,
the Waddy Werewolf, what was it? Cades Cove in Tennessee. Even here in Clarksville, there's been a couple of supposed dogmen sightings.
And down in Chattanooga, we've had like 2 or 3 reports of people seeing dogmen crossing the street down there.
Our hometown of Dayton, Tennessee, there's a dogman-like encounter up there on top of one of the mountains.
So it seems like everything is pretty much dogman or werewolf related. So that's interesting. It's all has kind of a canine connection, so to speak.
Well, there seems to be a lot of Bigfoot connections too.
Is there?
Tons of Bigfoot sightings.
We actually found what we believe to be a Bigfoot footprint over around where this particular incident happened. Is down by the water where the river is, though. Well, I guess where the lake actually enters in, but there's a footprint down in that mud there, and it was in so deep we tried to stomp the mud and get just as deep as it was, and we couldn't even get close.
And I think we told you the last time we went out to the area where you had your incident to put that memorial cross, we found what was a very odd doggish print out there, and like long skinny print, and we found one just like it the time before.
Wow, so that's close. Yeah, that's a scary thought that these things are still out there.
There was supposedly one seen last summer down by the elk and bison range.
And we were there the very same day it was seen. So,
wow.
For us, it was bad luck.
Yeah, we were there trying to find one, and somebody else got to see one.
I'm surprised they haven't shut the, I know that, it's because of revenue, I'm sure, but I'm surprised they just haven't shut this whole place down with as much stuff that's went on and the reports and especially the deaths, the human fatalities that have been, I can't say recorded because it doesn't seem like there's rumored. Yeah, they're all rumored. Exactly, or just swept underneath the rugs. I'm surprised this place just hasn't been completely shut down.
I still think it has something to do. Well, like we buy the yearly backcountry camping permits. And the first time we went down there and we'd bought online, we went into the welcome station and tried to tell somebody where we was going to be at in case there was an emergency. They had no interest. It was like, do you need to know where we're going to be? Nope, just go find a place. Yeah, but they had no interest in knowing where we was going to be at, and I think that gives them a bit of deniability, because if something happened, they could always say, well, we don't know if he or she ever showed up. They bought permits, but we never seen them. We never heard nothing from them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Wow.
Roger, something interesting I've been seeing, and it even made the news. I don't know if they'll find some way out of it or find some kind of funding, but LBL is actually, they got a budget cut, and they're going to be closing down some of the buildings up there, and I even seen that they may stop maintenance on the trails.
Yeah, so it's going to go back a lot to rewilding there.
So, kind of doing a full circle, going back to the way it was originally.
Yep, but to answer your earlier questions, there's been alleged creature activity down there since the 1700s.
Man, there were people there. Yeah, as long as there's been people in Kentucky, there's been reports like that.
And in LBL, there's been connected to it at least, I think 13 fatalities connected to it.
Well, that have been hinted to be related by cryptids.
Yeah, that's hard for me to wrap my head around. that this is, been known to be going on or rumored to be going on, and still, at least the Park Services or whoever runs that, or the DNR or somebody gets sick of hearing these stories if they're so untrue, coming out or putting an ad in the paper or something, say, hey, this is BS, it needs to stop. But it doesn't sound like they've done any of that. I mean, I guess that's something, if I was the head of an agency like that, I'd sure be wanting to stop all that. So, I don't know.
Here's the thing, Roger. You can't stop the truth. It's going to come out one way or another, sometime or another. And I wanted to ask you, you went through this when you was young, a teenager. How has it really affected your life since then? Of course, it's going to be a negative effect, but how's it really changed your life, or has it?
Well, I don't want to sound callous, but it really hasn't changed the way I actually live day to day. But like I said, I think about it every single day of my life. It's always with me, and always will be. But and that's, even to myself, I find that odd, because I've known people that's went through less trauma, and they're just in pieces on a daily basis.
Right.
So I just live with it. I have to. I think I keep myself motivated 24/7. And that helps. I think that really does, because if I did have any if I was a person just to sit around and had a lot of idle time on my hands, I'd probably be insane.
Well, guys, I don't want to cut this too much short, so if we got some more to talk about, we can talk about it. But we've got a big day with April tomorrow. We got to take her to have some radiation treatments done on some cancer spots. So I need to put her to bed shortly. But if there's something else we need to say or would like to say, we should probably start getting to it.
No, I just want to say I enjoyed this platform. It was relaxed and just kind of like everybody sitting down and just chat. I liked it a lot.
It's better to hang out as friends than bicker and be enemies.
It really is. It is.
I agree, Johnny. Really, we all need to get together sometime. I know you live a long way away, Roger, but maybe one of these days we can all get together and actually meet. I would love to hear your story, in person. I know it probably, so right off the get-go, I threw out a few little challenges, to see if you would change your story, but you haven't changed the one word of your story, and it's really impressive. I don't think you're lying. For the record, I do not think that you're lying. Like I say, I threw in a little traps right at the beginning to see if you would fall for it, but you didn't fall for anything, and you don't back down from what you say. You say the same thing every time. So I'm really impressed with your story, and maybe one of these days we could meet.
That would be great. I would be honored to meet you.
So yeah, the honor would be all mine. And you said you do plan on coming down to LBL sometime.
I do. I'm thinking about maybe next spring, or maybe even late this coming fall. Depends on how things work out, but I definitely have to go.
Well, I would really love it if when you decided to come down, that you would let me and Johnny know, and we could all meet up there.
Oh, absolutely. That would be great.
Yeah, it sure would. So, Johnny, thanks for having me on your show tonight,
Oh,
man.
thank you so much for coming on,
Thank you both for coming.
There were so many people last night wanting to hear more from you, wanting to hear more from Roger, and somehow it didn't work out. So I wanted to give people, the opportunity to maybe get to hear what they was looking for last night.
Right. Roger, do you think is there anything that you wanted to say last night that you didn't get to say? Because I know it was kind of hectic there. Everybody, was trying to talk and trying to get in their points, and a lot of times you kind of got shuffled under there. So If there's anything that you want to say, that now would be a great time to say it, because everybody's listening, and nobody's trying to discredit you or defame you. So
everybody here supports you.
Right, exactly.
I appreciate that, and I feel it. I really do. I think, other than the bad audio, of course, I think everybody got the gist. I just wanted to defend myself against a lot of the things that Jody had put out there, and I think I debunked those pretty good. And it's not to be bashing him, but I think I said everything I need to say. I just I can't think anything else. I think I defended myself pretty well, and
I think so too.
Now, I would like to say again that, one of the things that had came up was that you should have looked to your left and you would have saw the visiting center. And that is an absolute impossibility. We're going to include pictures in this video that we took. The visiting center from where you came out was roughly about a mile down the road, and it was over a hill and around a curve. There's no way, day or night, you could have seen the visiting center. If somebody was at the visiting center looking towards you, there's no way they would have seen you. And we're going to post pictures to prove that. And we went down and we actually talked to the lady working at the visiting center, who told us that particular location, she didn't think it had always been there. She said that it started out as a set of bathrooms with a covered pavilion on it, and in later years they built onto it to have the visiting center they have now.
Right. Did you get that text that I'd sent you?
Yes. I didn't quite get to read it all. Something about 1983.
Yeah, I had a gentleman that it was just a one-time deal. I private messaged him, and I did actually talk to him, and I did get permission to use his first initial, but that's his actual last name. And he said that that pavilion, or the welcome center, was actually fully constructed in it was late 1983. So if he's telling the truth, it would not have even been there when I was there. So he said he was a volunteer, I guess, for the original, when they first started building the actual visiting center there. So like I said, if you look at that text, I think his last name is Bell. You can post it if you want. Belly or Belray or something like that is how you pronounce his last name.
Now, was that at the north end or the south end?
Or the north end. Are you talking about where the visiting center is, you mean?
Yes.
Well, I assume it'd be the one that would be to the left, the one that we've been talking about.
Then that is the north end.
Right,
There's so many people that get confused on LBL, and they'll assume, they try to treat us like we're ignorant sometimes. They go, don't you know that LBL is in Tennessee? Well, yeah, part of it is, but part of it's in Kentucky.
Right, yep, exactly. Yeah, the campground sure is.
It's actually the largest inland peninsula in America.
Yes, it is.
Spanning both Kentucky and Tennessee.
But yeah, other than that, no, I think everything got out, and the drive shaft thing, I mean, I hope everybody does their research. That's just absolutely ridiculous to base your whole thing off of the temperature of a drive shaft. And a lot of people, not to be bashing Jody, because like you say, he's very passionate, and he's done a lot of good work and research, or so I'm told, but there's just he just got bent out of shape, and I think he just let a lot of things manifest. And I think I hate to say there was lies about him, or from him, I should say, but something happened. A lot of truth didn't come out of his mouth, and I think I debunked most of it.
Yep. Yeah, but you're right. There's not a lot of heat transfer on a drive shaft. If you don't believe me, go back and watch Indiana Jones or the first Raiders of the Lost Ark. Remember, the guy had to go under the car, and
Right.
kind of climbed down the drive shaft. Now, if they got that hot, that stunt man would have got scalded. I don't believe they would have had him holding on to a hot item like that.
No, and even outside of Hollywood or the movies, they just don't in personal experience. They don't get, because the headers, the main exhaust headers get around 400 and 500 degrees, and that's hot. That's like your barbecue grill hot. The drive shaft doesn't even get close to that. And that's what Jody was claiming, that the drive shaft gets around 400 degrees. It's no way, because first of all, it'd melt all the grease in your U-joints, and I mean, there's just a series of things that could go wrong with the drive shaft being that hot.
We drove 100 miles or more the other day, and we stopped while we was filming our new Nightmare Nugget, and we were stopped for about 30 minutes, and I told Elijah, I said, film this, because you're about to see something really hilarious, or I'm about to prove a point. After we had stopped for 30 minutes, I reached in and grabbed a hold of the side of the motor, the manifold, to see if it would cool down. And you know what? I was able to hold on to that motor.
Oh, yeah. Well, you got to remember, too, if you got a temperature gauge on there, it doesn't, your temperature gauge on your vehicle doesn't go to 400 or 500 degrees. It goes to like 200 or, something like that, 210, so.
But yeah, those things that you talked about, they were easily debunked.
Yeah, that's all I have to say, I guess.
Bart, did you have anything to add, buddy?
No, just thanks for having me on, and I really appreciate it, Johnny, and I'll be praying for April.
I covet those prayers.
All my best wishes to you and your family, buddy. You guys are the best to me.
Well, we thank the world of you too, Bart. Raj, we thank the world of you as well, brother.
We absolutely thank that of both of y'all. And I want to add before we close this thing up, anybody listening out there, go and check out some of Barton Nunnelly's books and his research, because he's done a lot of amazing things over the years. Check out his Hunt the Dog Man documentary. Mysterious Kentucky book, The Inhumanoids. That's a great one.
Yeah, Bart's probably been investigating down there as long as anybody. I know last night everybody was throwing around, we have 30 years of research. This person has 30 years of research. And the stories never changed. Well, that's not true. Every iteration of the story that you hear, the dog man was different. The dog man was big. The family was from Florida. The main guy was a lawyer.
It wasn't even a dog man. It had horns on it.
Yeah, and some of the stories it had horns on it, and some, it was drug out of a cave. Some it was drug out of a rock facing, and it had to be winched out, or it had to be pulled out on a flatbed. This story has not remained the same, because people have different locations, different events, different people found the bodies. They were in different shape, states of disarray. So this story is not as cohesive as everybody tries to make out. There has been a huge, huge amount of changing over the years.
Right. I think everyone who tells that story adds a little bit to it. Honestly, Johnny, maybe, I don't know, for whatever reason, but it definitely has not remained the same. And that's not to say anything about of the other stories that are coming out of there.
And that's not criticizing anybody, because there's been some great researchers down there.
Right. But I've been here doing this actively since 1985, and I've been experiencing this stuff since I was 7 years old. So I don't think anybody's been down here longer than me, trying to get to the bottom of some of the stuff that's going on around here. And honestly, there's really no answer for it. All the years that I put into investigating and doing expeditions, displacing Kentucky and that, I've never seen or gotten anything positive out of any expedition that I've led to Kentucky. The only times that I've ever seen anything that's unexplained was when I'm not looking for it, right? and then it just happens, and you're so not ready for it, you know. And so I don't know if there's any answers to be gotten from all this, other than to say that there's something about this place that's unlike any other in the United States, and it really is the dark and bloody ground. So that was the nickname for Kentucky. The name Kentucky actually meant land of tomorrow, but everybody called this place the dark and bloody ground because it was cursed. And you know, I think we can see that a little every day if we just look. You know, we got kids getting killed here by wild dogs or whatever, you know, and it's happening quite frequently now. So it really is a different kind of place than, say, Tennessee, which is strange enough. So one of my best friends, Mary Green, the late Mary Green, I was in close contact with her, and she was telling me all kinds of stories about Tennessee. But as far as that goes, there really is no other place than Kentucky that you can really come and experience something that you can't explain. So I happen to be lucky enough or unlucky enough, however you want to look at it, to have been born and raised here. And that's why I have so many experiences with this kind of stuff. And I just happen to be in the wrong place at the right time. And just like Roger and the family down there, they was just in the wrong place at the right time, I think. You know, things happen here that don't happen in other places.
That's true, and unfortunately, I think with presenting Roger to the public, we've ignited a firestorm, and all at once, everybody's just wanting to go to LBL again and research. I know that before April got sick, I would say that we were down there more than anybody. We were there 2 or 3 times a week camping and spending just hours and hours and hours around there. So we were putting in plenty of hours, and wasn't really anybody doing much there. And now all at once, it's become the hip place to go again.
Well, and you know, everybody should know that this wasn't Roger's idea, Johnny, to go full throttle public, right? From just letting his story be known anonymously or whatever, and to giving his name and going maybe national with this. So Roger was talked into this by you and I. So Roger's not into this for fame or money. So he's doing this because he wants to get this off his chest. So everybody needs to realize that.
And wants people to know what happened. So there's a record.
Can you put me on TV? He did not do that. Matter of fact, when we mentioned that to him, he was completely against the idea, right?
That's right.
Right. So we had to do a little convincing from several fronts to get him to agree to that. So everybody needs to know that Roger's not seeking fame and money. He's just trying to tell the truth, and more power to him. God bless him for trying to tell the truth.
And a TV show is probably going to give him a much bigger audience to let the truth get out.
Right, exactly.
You know, a lot of people want to know why he come to such a small group as ours to tell his story. And I don't know what compelled him.
You go to a small group, right? No, you don't. You go to a TV station or BFRO. Heaven forbid that he would go to a place like that. It was probably divine intervention that he came to you, because it was actually the best thing he could have done. So if he would have went to one of those big organizations or something, they would have probably just laughed him away. Because I went to the BFRO. When I first got online, I didn't know any better. I thought, oh, well, you know, there's the BFRO. This is where you go to log in your Bigfoot sightings. And well, I told them all about mine, and they kind of, you know, laughed it off. I'm like, what's going on here? So that's when I realized that people didn't want to know the truth. They want to know what they think they know. All right, they want their mysteries to stay mysterious. They want Bigfoot to be really hominid and nothing else, no matter what the evidence leads them to or points them to. So he did the right thing, and people just need to know that this wasn't his idea. It was kind of suggested to him. So anyone who says Roger's out for fame or fortune or whatever, you know, if he's telling the truth, which I think he is, as you know, he deserves fame and fortune. And Roger, don't let anybody ever tell you that you're not supposed to make money. Don't make any money, or nobody's going to believe it. the people who say that, I want the ones who don't ever need money and never have to use money to say that to you. Because unfortunately, this world is designed, you need money to live, right? Everybody's chasing money. Imagine how free we would all be if we didn't need money. We could do whatever we wanted. So the people who say, and they discredit somebody that makes money, you know, I want to know how much money that they don't need to live. Everybody needs money to live. So
I'll tell you something that
you deserve everything that you get. I hope you have much success, buddy.
I'll tell you something I'd like to see for Roger. I would like to see a Roger and Barton Nunnelly team up and do a book on this.
There you go.
Wow, yeah, that would be great. You know, I'm kind of on the fence about it. So I'm a man of my word, Johnny, and I've told everybody that I'm trying to finish this new Spotsville Monster book, but I find it hard with all the pandemic stuff going on in the country, falling to pieces around me. I'm like, why would I? So maybe we have 2 or 3 years left before we descend into chaos if we're lucky. Well, why would I spend a year, you know, typing away at that computer, that keyboard, if I don't have much time? But that sounds like a great idea. I would be more than willing to talk to Roger anytime he wants. And, you know, I'll do a sketch of the creature if I need to, or whatever he needs me to do. And I'd be happy to help him out.
Yeah,
that will be great.
Yeah, that would be great. But like I said, the truth is what I want out there, and the size of the platform, that didn't mean nothing to me, and it still doesn't. I'm absolutely, totally elated with how you guys have got my word out. So if it didn't go any farther than it's gone, I'm happy. I'm happy, and I believe you're right. I believe it was. I believe God sent me to John and Elijah. I really do.
Right, because I'm going to tell you, John and Elijah, they have integrity, and they don't do this for money. So I know everybody says, "Oh, if you do it for money, well, then you can't be believed." But they actually don't. They don't try to make any money. It's like me. You know, of course, I write books and this and that, but I don't depend on any of that. I have a good life. This unexplained stuff is less than 1% of my life. I don't depend on any money that I make. I have a good job that supports me and my family. So I'm not in this for money. All I'm in this for is to find the truth and tell it. And the truth should be shared with people, and it should be defended no matter what.
I agree, 100%.
Only money we really try to make is if we go to Crypticon, we might make some like wooden ornaments or things of that nature to kind of help recoup the cost of our tables, because we end up spending. You should make
as much money. I tell everybody, you should make as much money as you can. There's nothing wrong with that. That's the world we live in. But a lot of people think that if you make any money, then that's why you're doing it. But I just said that to point out the fact that you and Elijah don't do that. You haven't monetized your YouTube channel.
That's irritating.
You're not to make the money. You're not trying to make money and spread lies or whatever you have to do to make money. You have integrity, and that's pretty rare.
And we've been able to monetize. We've been able to monetize our channel for months and months since we had 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah, we just don't do it. We're up there now, getting close to 7,000 subscribers, which isn't huge, but if we wanted to, we could make a tiny bit of money off of it. But that's not what we're into. We like making our films and telling people. And
you're doing such a good job. You guys do a great job. I enjoy your films. I was watching the one about Harlan County, the Beast of Harlan County. Matter of fact, I was watching that right before I put in the Dog Man deal. But I will definitely send you guys something to watch and read. So all you got to do is send me your addresses, and I'll get those out in the mail to you.
That sounds awesome. We'll get you that very soon.
Excellent, Johnny.
Well, guys, if there's nothing else, I guess I'm gonna get off here. My cold seems to be reactivating. My snout's clogged up, and I can't hardly talk anymore.
All right, well, Johnny, you and Roger and Elijah and all your family, I hope you have a great evening. Thanks for letting me talk and let me talk to Roger. It's great doing that.
Anytime y'all want to talk again, we'll set something up for you.
Sounds good. Yeah, just give Roger my number and send me you guys' mailing address. I'll have you some stuff in the mail. And maybe one day we can meet. So, Johnny, you and I and Elijah and hopefully April, Gabrielle, we're all going to meet next month, at the end of next month, down at LBL. And just meet each other and see what happens.
Well, I look forward to that a whole bunch.
I'd be very happy to do that.
Too.
Roger, brother, we hope that you do well. Hope things go well with you, your new responsibilities out on the job.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I was elated when I found out that I got this new opportunity, so I'm going to be twice as busy, but that's good. That's a good thing.
It's good. That's a blessing.
It is. It is.
It is a blessing. So I'm fortunate myself. I've been able to work through this pandemic. It has had zero effect on me, and I'm grateful for that. I thank the good Lord for that. And you know, when you don't have to depend on something for money, and you don't have to defend something that makes you money, then that makes you a lot freer in a lot of people's eyes. But I don't have anything against anybody making money, and like I say, Roger, I hope you get rich and famous off this, because you deserve it for having the courage to come out and tell this story. Most people would never do that.
I appreciate that. It's I hope there's no ever any money involved, and if anybody deserves it, it would be John and Elijah. I just don't need it.
No, there you go. That's like me. So, you know, God bless you guys, and you guys take care.
God bless you as well.
Yeah, hopefully I'll be talking to you guys again soon.
All righty, gentlemen. Have a wonderful night, and until we speak again.
Gentlemen, God bless, and thank y'all very much. It was great to talk to you both.
Yep. Good night, guys.
You're welcome. Pleasure to be here. Talk to you guys and Roger. Real pleasure. So good night, everybody. Until we talk again.